Hello and welcome back to another Rush Duel Links video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some data mined leaks and try and use that information to make a prediction on some of the cards that might be coming out in the next box or the new character release or something down the line. So first things first, this is Brad's new website. Huge shout out to Brad for coming up with this. This is Duel Links Guide, which is the place where currently all of the data mines are being posted. So if we scroll right down to the bottom underneath all of the speed stuff, we get skills Rush Duel, none for this core update cycle, but incomplete character skill, can be activated if all of the monsters in your constructed deck are beast/warrior wind monsters. So first things first, this is an incomplete character skill. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean this has to be a character skill. Again, I'm not a data miner, so I can't know that for certain, but assuming this is a character skill, that would mean this is going to be attached to a character that's coming out in the future. Now, the obvious character here would be Luke's sister, Tiger. Tiger plays the Music Princess deck, which does have Wind Warriors and Wind Beasts, so it would make sense for this to be referencing that character, and that is one of the more likely characters to come out as a playable character, and the Music Princess cards now are pretty good. When the Music Princess cards first debuted, they weren't anything particularly special. They were a little bit underpowered, if we're being honest, but they did get I think it was a third wave of support, which introduced some of their fusions, and it did make the deck a lot stronger. That deck was not for very long, but it did hold a top spot in tournaments. It was winning a few tournaments. It was considered a tier 1 deck, if not for very long. And the deck did see a bit more play when Elemental Heroes were introduced, and we started seeing Wind Warriors combined with Heroes to make this sort of really good warrior pile deck that ended up actually being pretty good. Now, as for where we think this could come out, I don't know if this is going to be coming out anytime soon. The reason why is we know the next character we're getting is going to be Marek, and Marek should be out relatively soon, so we wouldn't expect this, again, assuming this is a character skill, we wouldn't expect Tiger to be releasing until late August to maybe early September, which tells me chances are we're not getting this in the next box. So I wouldn't expect necessarily the next box to be a Tiger box, but there is a chance, right? Anything could happen. They could just decide to, as soon as the Marek event ends, immediately drop Tiger, immediately drop a new box, and here we go. But we are still sort of expecting a new box. So I've been speaking to some of the world's competitors, and they have been told that the 1st of August is the cutoff point for when the card pool is going to be decided for Worlds. So what that means is any product released after the 1st of August is not going to be Worlds legal. So if Konami did want to get out another product, they've got about 10 days to do so before that cutoff point. So be interesting to see if we do get a new product. We could see something like a super mini or a deck build or a structure deck, something along those lines released in that time, but we haven't got any data mines or any leaks, any skills that are kind of hinting at that. All we have at the moment is this skill. And again, because this is a character skill, I don't think this is going to be referencing anything that could be out before Worlds. But I still think we should talk about Tiger's cards because they are pretty cool. So what better place to start than Horn Knives the Music Princess? So this was technically part of the second wave of support, but the second wave of support was rather lackluster. It was really that third wave that really bolstered them and made it into a real good strategy. So I'm just going to kind of mix the first two waves of support together. But Horn Knives is not a bad card. It's a level 2, 500 attack, 500 defense. During the turn that you normal summon this card, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, which milling is generally okay. Only milling 1 is fine. Then if you send a warrior type monster to the graveyard, so sometimes you can influence this with like Avian Spell Tactics, but otherwise it's just get a bit lucky, you can add a warrior type normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. So even right now, you could play this in something like Heroes, mill a hero, get a hero back to your hand. That's actually not that bad, especially since you could use the skill to get rid of this. So there is some potential of what you can do with this card. Again, this card didn't see like widespread play, but the card is fine. It's just a generically okay card. So next up, we have Nun Charonet, the Music Princess. So this image says it's level 3, but this is actually a level 5 card. So don't think this card is a level 3, that's 1600 attack. This is actually a 1 tribute monster. But 1600 attack for a level 5, not great. But if your opponent has a face-up monster on their field, we can send the top card of our deck to the graveyard. If we send a Wind Attribute Warrior type monster to the graveyard by this effect, one face-up monster on the opponent's field loses attack and defense equal to the number of face-up Wind Attribute Warrior type monsters on your field times 100 until the end of this turn. So this card is not great. The effect is actually fine. A lot of the time you will just hit a monster. A lot of the time you'll have 2 to 3 monsters, so you'll get a 1000 to 1500 reduction on your opponent's monster. But being a level 5 1600 attack is really, really bad. This card never really saw any play. I wouldn't expect this card to really see much play. Unless we get a skill that makes getting out the 1 tribute monsters in this archetype a bit easier, I wouldn't expect these cards to see much play. So this card is fine, but I think even that might be being a bit generous. Like you say, the effect is good, it's just the fact it's on a level 5 body that really lets it down. Then we have Trumpeton for the Music Princess. So this is another level 6, another 1600 attack. If you have a warrior type normal monster in your graveyard, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Then one face-up monster on your field gains attack equal to the number of warrior type normal monsters in your graveyard times 100. Then we say on average this is going to be somewhere between 5 and 10. We're going to gain between like a 500 and 1000 attack boost. That's okay, but again, similarly to the last card we looked at, this card's major issue is that it is on a level 6 body. Having to tribute summon this card makes it really, really underwhelming, and again, didn't really see a ton of play. Then we have the first boss monster of the archetype, and this was one of the 2 major bosses during the first wave of these cards' release, Digisoon the Music Fiend. So if your opponent has a defense position monster on their field, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the number of defense position monsters on the opponent's field times 800. So if your opponent's got 3 attack position monsters, this is just a 2400 vanilla. That's not great. But if your opponent does have a defense position monster, this thing can get up to 32, and that's actually not bad. If your opponent has 2 defense position monsters, we can reach 4000 attack. That's actually not awful. So if we do have a skill, for example, that changes your opponent's battle position, this card isn't like terrible. Don't get me wrong, in the current game, in the current Duel Links meta, this card is going to be really, really bad. It's just, unfortunately, it's too old. It's just not powerful enough. It's just not competitive. We'd need a really, really strong skill to make this standalone card good. But we will come back to this card in a little bit because it will be important for some of the cards to talk about later. The other boss monster, Ensemble Fighter, the Music Fiend. So this only has 2200 attack, which is a lot worse than 24, but both of those stats are still bad because they're under that 25. We can send 1 card from our hand to the graveyard. That really stings. We really don't want to be sending cards from our hand to the graveyard. This turn, while this card is face up, your opponent cannot activate trap cards when your wind attribute warrior type monsters declare an attack. So this effect is okay, except we have to just get this thing out, discard a card, and then have it stay there. We can't even like use it for something else. For example, if we have a fusion, maybe this card could go into, we wouldn't be able to use that. So this card is very awkward. It's poorly statted. Realistically, it's just not very good. The effect is not bad, but the requirement and the body are just too bad for this card to really see any kind of competitive play. Then we'll go on to our first spell card. This is Music Princess's Breath. So if you have 2 face-up wind attribute warrior type monsters on your field, special summon a level 6 or lower warrior type monster from your graveyard face up to your field, but it cannot attack directly. So this is not very good. We already have to have 2 face-up wind warriors to use this. We need to have a level 6 or lower monster in the graveyard. It's not that good. Most of the time you'd rather just have another body in your hand rather than play this. Occasionally setting it the turn before could be okay. This card again never really saw any competitive play. It's just a card that might come out and it's got Music Princess synergy. Then we have Music Princess's Whirling Wind. So if you have a face-up level 5 or higher wind attribute warrior type monster in your field, change up to 2 attack position monsters to face-up defense position. So this can be okay with Digisoon if you really want to trigger its effect, but it's still not a very good card. Just changing 2 monsters to defense, unfortunately, is just not good enough, especially when you have to compare this to something like Meteor Charge, which, like Galaxy have, which gives you the ability to change something to face-up attack or defense, as well as give piercing. So this is just a lot worse. Unfortunately, a lot of these cards are just really old 7s cards, and that's really where they fall short. These cards came out at a time where they weren't even really very good when they did come out, but the power level was a lot lower, whereas right now we're in the middle of Go Rush Fusions. And then we have our first trap card, Music Princess Art Triplet. So when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, if they have 3 monsters on their field, all face-up wind attribute warrior type monsters on your field gain 1000 attack to the end of this turn. This is not a very good trap card. Boosting your attack is fine, but not very good. It's also not really going to stop like a big OTK push from your opponent. This trap card is not very good, but this is just the first wave traps. And we've already seen Konami doesn't really like to give us traps. They might not even give us this card anyway, but I thought we'd mention it because this was part of their first wave. And that is basically it for like the first couple of waves. There were some normal monsters, but I didn't really see a point in going over all the normal monsters. This is all the meat and potatoes. And as you can imagine, these cards didn't have a huge meta impact. But when we got their next wave, that suddenly changed. So first things first, we got Turbadish, the Music Princess. So a level 6, 1800. Okay, another level 6. 6s tend to be quite bad. But if you have another face-up warrior-type monster on your field during the turn that you normal summon this card, add one level 7 or higher wind attribute monster, and one warrior-type normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so this is actually a +2. So we do have to -1 to get this out, but then we do get the +2 off of it, which is actually kind of good. This turn, you cannot activate monster effects except wind attribute warriors or beast type monsters. And again, that lock just tries to keep us on the Music Princess strategy, so there's nothing too shocking with that. But this card did actually see a bit of play, and that is because with their next wave, this deck becomes a fusion archetype. So by getting back one of the level 7s, we can get half the fusion. By getting back a warrior type normal monster, we can get back the other half of the fusion. So actually, not that bad. Next up, we have Tomatosaurs, the Music Fiend, and this is the beast of the deck. The 2300 attack is a bit low, level 7. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, okay, that's fine. Gain 300 attack to the end of the turn, goes up to 26. 26 is fine. It's a little bit weak for right now. I mean, you have to compare this card to something like Extraplorer, which is a 2300 that goes up to 26, but also it gets you back 2 cards from the graveyard. So what's the rest of this card? Then you can special summon a level 8 or lower wind attribute monster type monster from your hand. If this was from the graveyard, this card would be insane. Because it's from the hand, this is a bit awkward. So this can help us unbrick, and this could help us like climb into a fusion. We could use this in combination with Turbadish, so we get out Turbadish, use its effect to add 2 cards to the hand. Then we go Tomatosaurs, summon back the high level monster we got out with Turbadish, then summon out our normal monster, fuse them together. That could work out quite well. But it is a bit of a finicky combo for not a lot of gain. So overall, Tomatosaurs I don't think is going to really find a spot, especially because if we do get the fusions, we would need to play a lot of high-level boss monsters to go into those fusions, so I don't think Tomatosaurs would realistically get a spot. And then the last main deck box we're going to take a look at, Sunsetsu Contra, the Music Fiend. So level 7, 2000 attack, really bad. 2500 defense though, actually not awful. If we have 10 or more cards in our deck and no other monsters on the field, we can send the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. Okay, sending top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard is good. Then if your opponent has a face-up monster with 3000 or more attack on their field, draw 3 cards. So this effect is actually not bad. Milling 3 is good, drawing 3 is good, 2500 defense is good, everything else is bad. We don't want a 2000 attack monster, we also don't really want to be playing other high-level monsters in this deck realistically, so this card probably wouldn't see play, and didn't really see any competitive success in the OCG. Next up, we'll take a look at Boton, the Music Princess, and we're probably thinking, well, why are we looking at a low-level normal monster? Well, some of you will probably have already predicted this is the half of the fusion that we're going to be using to go into our big boss monsters. Just a 0 attack, 500 defense monster, pretty standard for a fusion body. But now it's time to take a look at our fusions, and the fusions are actually not bad. The first one, Full Orchestra, the Music Fiend. So 2900 attack, 2900 defense, level 9, pretty good. Made using Ensemble Fighter, the Music Fiend, and Boton. So Boton being the normal monster, and Ensemble Fighter being our stop your opponent from a card. So it's a bit awkward to get out because it is made using a 2200, which means we do have to play the 2200 in the deck, which we don't really want to be running. But this boss monster is pretty good. We can send 1 card from our hand to the graveyard. Ooh, again, we don't really like doing that. But we can destroy all face-down cards in your opponent's spell trap zone. So we just get rid of all of our opponent's back row. Now, obviously, so like Compulsory is still going to ruin our day because they're going to flip over Compulse. Full Orchestra's going to go away. But if they don't have Compulse, we will just get to destroy all of their back row, basically Harpy's Feather Dust to them, which is pretty good. Then, this card gains attack equal to the number of cards destroyed with this effect times 600 until the end of this turn. So if that's 3, that would be 18. 18 plus 29 is 47, and 4700 attack is not bad. Now, most of the time that's not actually just going to outright kill your opponent, but it's still a very substantial amount of damage. And as we take a look at some of the other cards in this archetype, you might find out this card is a little bit better than you first thought. But first things first, let's take a look at that other big fusion boss monster, Trance God Breath, the Music Fiend Deity. So this is a 3000 attack monster, 3000 defense, made using Digisoon and Boton. So Boton, once again, is our low level. Digisoon is our card that gains boost based on the number of defense position monsters our opponents have. So we can send up to 3 cards from our hand to the graveyard. Once again, we don't really want to be sending cards from our hand to the graveyard. But this turn, this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's trap card effects. Okay, right now that's not super useful. That's basically just widespread. If it attacks defensive position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. Also, if you activated this effect during the main phase this card was special summoned, it gains attack equal to the number of monsters sent to the graveyard times 1000. So if we send 3 monsters to the graveyard when we summon this, it'll go up to 6,000 and become a 6,000 piercer, which is actually kind of scary. So the only time we'd ever really want to be sending all 3 cards to the graveyard is if we're going to try and end the game, go for a big 6,000 piercing push. Now, you might be asking, okay, how are we getting this out, right? Realistically, we've got to get out a double tribute monster, so we're going to have to summon, tribute to get out a boss, summon Boton, activate fusion. That's 5 card investment just to get this out, and then I've got to discard 3 cards as well, and for 4 Orchestra, I've got to do basically the same thing and then send a card from my hand to the graveyard as well. Like, this is asking way too much. We're going to need some busted skill to, like, cheat all these monsters out. Maybe, but there is a card that does kind of solve a lot of these issues. And that is Music Princess's Dance. So this card, we'll just read through it first. If you have 5 or more Wind Attribute Warrior type monsters in your graveyard, fusion summon a Wind Attribute Warrior type monster by shuffling monsters from your hand and or graveyard into the deck of material. So this is a miracle fusion that we can use on our Wind Attribute Warrior monsters, which we can fuse from graveyard and or hand. So this effectively, if our graveyard is set up, is a 1-card boss monster. In the same way that Miracle Fusion, you can just play Miracle Fusion, bam, you immediately have a fusion out. This is exactly the same. So if we did get this card, and if we did get it at 3 copies, suddenly summoning out full Orchestra and Trance God Breath isn't that difficult. If we can summon out a full Orchestra or a Trance God Breath with only using 1 card from our hand, we still have 4 cards left over. That suddenly makes these cards seem a lot more powerful. Now, originally I probably would have said that I don't think we would get this card, Miracle Fusion is a bit too strong, but we do already have Miracle Fusion in the game. So the question now would be, are they planning to limit 1 this card immediately, or give it to us as a single copy from like a bundle or something? Or are they just going to give it to us at 3 cards? If we get this card at 3, I actually think this deck could be really, really powerful out the gate. Because the boss monsters themselves aren't anything too insane, right? But if we're able to summon these using only a single card from our hand, suddenly they become a lot more powerful. Just being able to pop out a 2900 guy that wipes your opponent's back row, being able to pop out a 4 to 6,000 attack piercer is really, really strong. And if we have, for example, 2 copies of Princess Dance, we could summon out both of these in the same turn, and then basically try and OTK our opponent. So there is quite a lot we can do with these cards. But these aren't all of the cards that we're going to talk about. These cards are just important to understand the context of some of these other cards. But already, if we do get Dance, it would be unbelievably powerful. So I'm not sure if they would, especially because, again, we have just got Miracle Fusion, and we only have a single copy. Next up, we have Action Melody, the Music Princess. This is a level 8 made using Turbodiche and Boton. And Turbodiche is the level 6 that does get us our fusion materials back from the graveyard. So we can place 1 spell card from your graveyard in either the top or bottom of your deck. So that means we can take Music Princess's Dance and put it back on top of our deck. Which means if we only have a single copy of Princess Music Dance, we can just keep recycling it, which also could be a really interesting way that they allow us to use it multiple times without having more than 1 copy. But then 1 face-up monster on your opponent's field loses 2,000 attack and defense to the end of the turn, so that's a really good effect. Then if you placed Straight Pierce or Fusion to meet the requirement, you can draw 1 card. So if we do put Straight Pierce or Fusion on top of the deck, we get to immediately add that card to our hand, which means we can go into another Fusion play, or we can activate a Straight Pierce. Straight Pierce, by the way, is a spell card. Shuffle 5 Wind Attribute Warrior type monsters from your graveyard into the deck. This turn, 1 face-up level 7 or 8, so not the fusions, or at least not the majority, monster on your field gains 2,000 attack, and if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. So Action, for example, is a level 8 monster, so this could immediately go up to 48 and have piercing, which is pretty good. So if we do get this card, again, it's going to look like a really, really strong deck. Last few cards we're going to talk about, I don't think are too impressive, but they are worth mentioning. First one is Music Princess's Prelude. If we have no monsters on our field, we can special summon 1 Wind Attribute monster from your hand, face up to your field. Then if you special summon a Warrior type monster by this effect, you can add a fusion from your graveyard to your hand. This card is fine, but I don't think this card is probably going to see much play. I would expect the skill to do a lot of the consistency fixing that this deck might have, so I don't think we'd need a card like this. And then the last card we're going to talk about is Music Princess's Requiem. So this is actually not a bad trap card. When your opponent's monster declares an attack targeting your attack position level 7 or higher, Wind Attribute Warrior or Beast monster, the attacking monster loses attack equal to the attacking monster's level times 600. So that most of the time will just reduce their attack to 0, which means this would be a really powerful trap. And as we know, Konami doesn't like giving us powerful traps, so we probably wouldn't get this card. But if we did start getting traps, again, this could be a place to start, and this trap card would be pretty good. But overall, I think that a lot of these cards are really, really good. I think we could get quite a lot of these, and I think it would make sense, especially because we are sort of in the Miracle Fusion era, I suppose. We do already have the Miracle Fusion. I would expect 7's Wonder Fusion to not be too far away in terms of where we are in the anime. We're around the 7's Wonder Fusion era, so bringing out more cards that fuse from the graveyard, such as Music Princess Dance, would make sense. The issue again comes at, are we going to get it at one copy or are we going to get it at multiple copies? I think if we didn't get the fusion monsters along with Tiger, Tiger's going to be dead on arrival without a really, really busted skill. If we do get the fusion monsters, again, the fusion monsters are going to feel a little bit difficult to get out and use without access to Music Princess's Dance. So I would expect we're probably going to get at least one copy of this card when we do get Tiger. Again, we're not entirely sure when that's going to be. My prediction, again, would be either the end of August or early September for Tiger, but it is really hard to tell because my initial thought was that we could get Phaser, like announcement at Worlds, because that would make sense because Go Rush Maximums is kind of, again, where we are in terms of the release schedule, so that would make sense. But we do have this data mined, and the next 7's character is probably going to be Tiger. That would make a lot of sense. So, but my prediction is that Tiger probably late August, maybe early September, I think October at the latest, and we're probably going to be getting Music Princess Dance and the Fusion Monsters with her. But thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.